beyond Perth. When the train pulls away from Perth, it follows the northern bank of the River Tay. The fresh waters of the river mix with the sea as the tide ebbs and flows twice each day. Then, suddenly, the landscape opens up. On one side is the fertile Carse of Gowrie. If you look to the other side, you should catch glimpses of Invergowrie Bay and the ever-widening Firth of Tay. The shallow waters of the inner Firth of Tay, between Perth and Invergowrie, have an almost swamp-like shoreline. Reed beds flourish in this environment, supporting numerous types of insect as well as a few rare birds. The bearded tit and water rail nest and feed here, while the marsh harrier hunts across the sea. The reed beds used to be commercially harvested for roof thatch, which was a benefit for the birds. But nearly 10 years ago the harvesting ended due to competition from abroad. Conservation charities are now cutting patches in the winter so that these unusual birds will return to breed each spring. As you travel north, you'll see the Tay estuary broadening out. At low tide, the mudflats stretch almost to the other shore. This is a fantastic area for bird watching. At high tide, you can see birds roosting among the wilder, uncultivated edges of the coast, while as the tide recedes, they'll be moving along the seashore in search of food. But what sorts of birds might you hope to see in this tidal seascape? During spring and summer, the area is alive with lots of different species. Large, colourful shelducks feed on shellfish and snails, and you'll know them by their bright red beaks, dark green heads and rich brown belly stripe. Overhead you should see lapwings, which are also known as peewits, plovers or chouchas. It's a stunning sight to watch them wheeling and diving in their displaying flights, calling all the time. But there are many other birds to watch here too, including the stocky black and white oystercatcher with its raucous alarm call, and the curlew with its distinctive long, down-curved bill. If you're here in autumn and winter, you'll be joined by birds from Siberia, Scandinavia and Iceland, far to the northeast and north. You can watch long-legged waders like the grey-brown bar-tailed godwit, which is similar to a curlew but has a long straight bill. You'll have to go cautiously though, as these birds are nervous of walkers, even at a distance. Many of the smaller redshank, so called because of their orange-red legs, have also flown in for the winter and can be seen feeding on the tidal flats, eagerly seeking worms and molluscs in the mud. And it's not just the sound of birds that you hear along this shoreline. Both grey and harbour seals come here to feed and haul out on the sands on the other side of the estuary. Fiona Manson has studied their behaviour in this area.
My name's Fiona Manson. I'm a marine advisor at Scottish Natural Heritage. We have two species of seals in Scotland, the harbour seal and the grey seal. These can be difficult to tell apart when the seals are in the water, but in general, grey seals tend to be slightly larger than the harbour seals. And the harbour seals have a shorter snout. They look more like a dog's face, like a spaniel or a Labrador, whereas the grey seals have a long pointed face, a bit like a horse, or sometimes described as having a Roman nose. Seals are found in the Firth of Tay because there are good areas there for them to haul out on the sands where they can have their pups, and also because there's good feeding areas close by.
Seals may look clumsy on land, but they are graceful, agile swimmers. They can dive down to a depth of 200 metres, and they may reach speeds as fast as 20 miles per hour when they're fishing. There's so much wildlife along the Tay estuary, and although you may not see it all from the window of the train, it's out there and waiting to be discovered.